Well, my mother and my dad separated before I was born. My mother was pregnant with me. And during the time, she came back. She was in Chicago with my dad. And after she got sick of Chicago and her and my dad's parted ways, she came back to the reservation to my grandma and grandpa's. And when I was born, during that time of our life, anytime our people were hospitalized, there was only one place our people could go, and that was Hayward Hospital. Well, and if anybody used hospitals in Ashland, we had to pay for it. So my grandpa didn't want my mom to go to Hayward when she went into labor. He wanted her to go to Ashland, and he didn't know how he was going to pay the bill. Well, it just so happened her brother trapped a mink, and they got good money for it. And that's what paid the hospital bill for my mother when I was born. And throughout the years that we lived here, my mother went on mother's aid, they called it back then. And she could only get seasonal work on the reservation. So on the other times, then she took that mother's aid, and she had to go every month to be examined by a doctor in Ashland for them to release her check. I thought, today I look back and see how humiliating that must have been for her. I mean, for that little bit of money that she got every month, $27 a month is all she got. And that was supposed to feed me, clothe me, shelter me. And I mean, today they think nothing of it. Young people have kids right and left. They don't have to go get examined. And, that was tough back then. And how cruel people were to our people back then. It hurts me. And that pain I carried for many years. Just thinking about what my mom went through, and I still hurt from it.
Yeah.
I was born in Ashland, Wisconsin, and I was raised on the reservation till I was a teenager, and I never knew what city life was like. My family is the Blanchard family on my mother's side, and the Rabideau on my father's side. Part of that Moore family and part of the Diver family on my grandma's side. My great-grandma was a diver from Fond du Lac. And my biological father was from Red Cliff. But my mom was raised on the reservation also. So that's where I was raised till I was a teenager, and my mom and my stepdad moved to Chicago, and I moved there with them. I missed my mom, and then I got there, and I didn't like it. And I got lonesome for my friends in the reservation, so I came back, and then I was back and forth for a while. It was hard for me to adjust. And then later in life, 16, 17, I finally adjusted to living in the city, and I stayed there for quite a few years. I had my children, and my oldest son was was born in Ashland, and we lived on the reservation during that time. And then we moved back to Chicago, and I stayed there for a few years, and I ended up getting a divorce from my husband, and I moved back to the reservation again. And then I moved to Milwaukee again for a while. I was a gypsy for a while. Looking for a better life, never really found it till I wasn't grown up enough mentally to achieve the things I know today I could have. However, I missed the boat. So um, I learned later in life, I went to the school of hard knocks, I guess. I sure did. And then I was raised here. As a child, we all learned how to work together. Our community was supportive of one another. We suffered our addictions here. And believe me, it was rampant throughout this reservation. But we did take care of our families. They did do that. And I remember being a part of that, taking to our elders and taking to our single parents that couldn't do some of the things for their kids. So whatever we had, we shared. Whatever they had, they shared. We didn't have cars. We would bum rides. People would ask our family member if they wanted to ride to Ashna, go pick up some things, and then later in life, the only way I knew how to travel was by thumb or bumming a ride, and that's how we traveled. And some of our people rode on their thumb to Milwaukee, and I don't know how they did it. Got rides. Must have taken days. I don't know. I never experienced that, but nonetheless, um, it was good. I enjoyed my childhood. Now that I look back, there was parts of it that was pretty bitter, especially with the nuns at our schools here were cruel and mean as could be. I still look back on that today and think, oh my gosh, it made me angry. I carried a lot of anger about that for many years. I learned how to work through all that and all the addiction. Did us no favors either. But I understand it today. I've changed my life many years ago, and I love it. And I know today what I hold very sacred to me. Back then it was not, we didn't look at priorities. We didn't know what priorities were. We just did what was expected of us. I've talked to people and they said that was a choice you made. No, it wasn't a choice. People don't understand that. We did according to where we felt we were supposed to be at that age. And that's what when I was growing up, they said, you're a woman, you should be married and have kids. Well, I followed that, and it didn't work out very well for me. However, I see today I can make better choices. So this is my choice, and this is what I could talk about. Oh, there are many. However, one really stands out in my mind. Where we lived on the highway, after the highway went through the reservation here, we lived on Highway 2 right before Bad River Bridge. And my aunt and uncle my aunt lived next door with her kids. And she had about 4 or 5 of them at the time. Well, one of her older boys made a slingshot. Because we used to have to invent our toys and our way to have fun. So he made himself a slingshot. He found a crutch in the woods and he whittled it all out and he put inner tube rubber on it. And then he tied it to another a bigger piece of inner tube. And he took a rock and he shot that rock, pulled it back, and I said, oh, let me try that. So I picked up, he gave me a slingshot, and I put a rock in it, and it was windy day, and that wind carried it and went right through their window, and I went running in the house. I knew I was really in trouble. I said, here, you can have your slingshot back, and I went tearing into the house. One time, me and Carol my cousin Carol, her and I she's deceased now, but her and I grew up in the same house, and we always had so much fun. And one time we were sneaking out to go meet our friends at night, and And I finally got out the window. She got out first, and I finally got out the window, and my grandpa was building a boat, a race boat. And I forgot about that boat. And as I was running alongside the house to get out of her eyesight, that boat was sticking out from the house. And I hit that boat full speed and knocked me about 10 feet back. So they did for trying to escape the house. And when I wasn't supposed to. Hey. Well, today, as I was in a bad car accident in 1988, and up until that point, I worked all my life. And even as a kid here, I never realized that how hard we worked. But I always knew what work was all about. And so after my accident, I felt like I wasn't contributing to life. And the things that I felt like I could do, I was stagnated during that time, and I didn't feel real good about it. And I wondered how I could get into the mainstream again. And I learned how to sew from a very young age from my grandma, my old grandma. And I had moved to Milwaukee, and they had a native church down there. And the guy I was with at the time, he drummed, and so they started bringing out a lot of homemade apparel. And I thought it was quite unique. And so I got an old sewing machine, and I thought, well, I'll try it. So I started out with a ribbon shirt. And when I made that ribbon shirt, I made it a little different than what was on the market for that time. And then when he wore it, that really piqued my interest, because so many people came up to him and complimented him on that shirt. And then, however, during that time, then it snowballed. Everybody wanted one. So I had to get busy, and it just kept going on and on and on from there. And I remembered some of the things I had learned as a youngster. Thank goodness. Some of the tricks of the trade. And I still utilize that today. I love to sew. It's good therapy for me. I love to do beadwork. I don't do as much of that anymore as like I used to, because I like sewing more. And let's see, what else is my hobbies? I like going to the casino once in a while. Can't leave that out. And those are pretty much the things that I love to have my grandchildren around. They're such a joy, and I don't get to see them real often. My grandchildren are grown already. They're all grown adults, but the great-grandkids they're the best. I just love having any one of them around there. I just can't get over how sweet they are and how they're growing too fast. And I'm so blessed that I was able to survive this long to enjoy them. Because so many times I was at death's door over the years, and I'm still here, and I'm grateful each and every day I open my eyes. Barbecue ribs. I love fish. I love walleye if it's made right. That's one of my favorites, is walleye fish. I remember as a kid we fished a lot of walleye and had fish fry periodically. I grew up with 26 people in my house, and believe me, us kids had to do a lot of fishing to feed us all. But we did it. We fished. We got that much fish. We cleaned them. We skinned them. I'm sorry, but we scaled them. We skinned them. Lawyers, we used to skin walleye. Oh yeah. What did I just say? We scaled, and we cut them up, and that was our supper. And my grandma made them just perfect. I loved it, and that's the way I like them today. And that's one of my favorite fish. was that and cod. But walleye, oh my God, if you can't get enough walleye. But
Wild rice sauce?
oh yeah, I'm not that crazy, but I grew up on this stuff. During the times that it was plentiful here, we hunted deer, and as a kid, we had to gut them, drag them out of the woods, skin them, and then on our kitchen floor, we drag them into the kitchen, and it was a lot of work. And then as a kid, we'd step on the body and pull the hide away, and we had to use our little muscles. Sometimes it took two of us pulling on the same skin, but we did it. And so at a young age, we were taught how to cut it, gut it, and I remember don't when you had to gut it, we were taught, and I remember sticks out so well in my mind. Don't cut that poop bag. Just remember now, don't cut the poop bag. You're gonna ruin the meat. I'm like, holy smokers! I was always scared, and well, we got it done. I can't remember doing that. Thank goodness. They'd probably skin me, but because that was food for the community, not just us. And so after all those years of hunting them, gutting them, skinning them, cutting them up, I think I lost my taste for them. Yeah, I grew up on it. And fish, though, I never lost my taste for walleye. And we hunted muskrats, and we ate muskrat, we ate duck, we ate rabbit. Yeah. Do I want any of that anymore? No. Only fish. It was hard stuff to get.
Was muskrat cod boily? Or was the flavor of that?
Oh God, I can't even remember anymore. It's been so many years since I had it.
I don't want it.
Yes. And one of the things that I learned as a child growing up, sometimes during the year, if you killed deer, it had a wild taste to it. And same way with fish, it had a real fishy taste to it. Well, what my grandma used to do is put it in canned milk, soak it in canned milk, and take that wild taste out. And so that I always remember, and it worked. And there was a lot of different little tricks that are cucumber, and you rub that cucumber with the stem, you rub it back and forth, it takes the bitterness out of that cucumber. And I taught it to my kids, they still remember that today. And the different little tricks that they always knew and they handed down, thank goodness. And
why did they do the fork thing on it? On the cucumber, was that for a reason, or is that just for show?
Just for show.
Okay.
As far as I can remember, we always peeled them.
Yeah.
And I don't care for the skin on them, but nowadays I see that every once in a while they'll do that, just a little bit of it. I gotta have mine peeled. Oh, geez, I have a few. No, they aren't so good. No, no, I'm kidding. I have a little cousin that I just loved him to pieces when he was born. I was young, and before I had my own kids. Jimmy Bing. He was one of my favorite little guys when I was younger, and I spent so much time with him. I lived in Chicago, and I would come up here, and I would take him on rides, and I'd take him shopping, and whatever I could do with him, he just was one of my favorite kids. And he always called me Sis. He always had a nickname, Sissy. And that's why I got my nickname, Sis. So a lot of my family members call me Sissy. So that's how that came about. So I still, it hurts my heart to know where that came from, and he's no longer with us. But the name carries on, so that's real sentimental to me. Well, I was a very mixed up younger child, I think. But I didn't know it back then. To me, it was just normal. Um, One of the brighter things in my life back when I was a kid, uh, I wasn't made to feel real special because there were so many of us in the house. But however, I recall one time that really made me feel super special. My grandma and grandpa took me to Ashland on a Friday, which was a big treat for any one of us kids to get a ride to Ashland. And I thought, wow, I just felt super important. And they took me into Coast to Coast store. And my grandma and grandpa walked into Coast to Coast, and I was right behind them. And my grandpa said to Walt, that guy that owned it, his name was Walt. And my grandpa asked him, well, did it come in, Walt? And that guy said, yeah, well, I had no fruit. And they took me in the back of the Coast to Coast store, and there was a big, shiny Girls Bite, the blue. And my grandpa said, here you go, babe, that's yours. I cried so hard that I was so excited, and I couldn't, it was like I was in wall land. Like, I couldn't believe it. It just was so unbelievable. Who on our reservation ever got a brand new bike? They were all pieced together always from different leftovers, and that's the kind I'd had before. But a brand new shiny blue bike, oh my God, that was like a dream come true. And they put it in the trunk of the car, and I knelt on the back seat looking at that trunk all the way back to Bad River. I was so excited I couldn't wait for it to come out that trunk so I could ride it. Yes, so that was one of the greatest events as a child that I had living on the res. It was few and far between that we ever had any really great experiences like that. And I look back on my life now, today, back then, we lived a pretty scary life. However, I can also say it was really good on the other hand in many ways also, because our community was more together. And we don't see that today, and that really hurts. There's only, there were so many things that were brought back from people who grew up in the city, people who lived in the city, grew up there. And they brought it back here, and that was no good. It was poison to our people. And that's still the way it is. And we don't live the life that we are supposed to live. And you see that throughout our community. Everybody's split. If you don't believe that, it reminds me of the old colonization. They came in and said, this is the only way you believe, and they're going to force you to do it. Well, we're going right back to that. That's exactly what they're doing to us today. You don't believe the way I do, I don't want nothing to do with you. Stay away from me. I mean, how tainted is that? Just because you believe in something else doesn't mean you can't be cordial to somebody else. No, I mean, what a simple, small mind of people that do that sort of thing. It doesn't bother me that, hey, if that's the way you believe, wonderful, that's good. My children have different beliefs than I do. What am I supposed to do? Throw them away or not invite them and have them in my life? That's a bunch of bull. But that's the way we get treated around here. You better come and believe the way I do, or ostracized. You're out. How sad, eh? What a horrible, horrible way to have to live. But that is the way it is. And they should take notice of that once. Look at what this has done to our people. They allowed it. They wouldn't let all of us have a say. Only certain ones. There you go. That's why you got what we got now. Don't blame it on anybody else but yourselves. Then let all of us speak. Not like none of us have a voice. They took my voice away from me, just like the nuns did back in the old days. And that's a crocky. You know what? That upsets me very much.
That sounds good. Want to say anything else?
Well, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this interview. At least here I got to voice how I feel, what I had to say. Hopefully it will be of some value. I do value myself. I do value what I do. I value my beliefs. And I want to be respected for that. I respect everybody else. That's what they don't have to get ugly about it. They don't have to get violent about it. I was threatened on Facebook that, oh, if I went and did this, they're gonna meet me there. For sure, they would meet me there. So what did that mean? They're gonna hurt me? So I stayed away from places because I'm a double amputee in a wheelchair. And if somebody does something to me, I spent so much time in the hospital since I was 42 years old. I don't want to spend more time there. And so I pull myself away from that stuff because it's too scary for me. And I shouldn't have to be afraid of that. But no, it's okay. There's no priorities in what they do to who, So do whatever you got to do, I guess, Let it be that ugly way. That's the way it is. It's ugly.
Well, we don't have to be young.
Exactly. That don't mean I have to be as ugly as they do. And that's okay, They want to, but yet they'll hang me. I don't do nothing to them.
Right.
I don't act ugly to them. When I see them, a lot of times I'll smile and they snap their eyes at me like I'm a piece of shit or a piece of poison or whatever. I mean, really? Come on. See, we were never like that before. But boy, today that ugliness from those cities and stuff sure it was ingrained in our people, and they brought it back here. And that's what we live by today. How sad. Oh, my God. And, I don't want to get ugly on anybody. I had a very good teacher. For 30 years, I walked with that man, and he taught me nothing but good. And I want him to be proud of me. He's passed on now. But I want him to be proud of what he taught me.